Trade deadline week is here, and trade deadline day has begun. So what kind of trades has Pittsburgh made ahead of the deadline? The Grapefruit League action for the Blue Jays continues. How many more wins have the Blue Jays been able to acquire as we get ready for the regular season? We're discussing all of that. Plus, it's time for theme days and promotions, and it all happens on this episode of Sports for Beginners. Let's get going. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports from the fans' perspective. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports for Beginners, the podcast, season number 4. It is episode 6 of season 4. And on this episode, we've got tons of content for you. We will begin in our leadoff segment with Penguins trades ahead of the NHL Trade Deadline, and 2 of which happened on Wednesday night. Plus, we're going to do a little bit of Blue Jays spring training updates from their Grapefruit League action. And later, it's time to find out what fans in Toronto will be receiving or have to look forward to when they are at Rogers Center this season. So let's get this party started and talk Penguins trades ahead of the NHL Trade Deadline. The first trade the Penguins made on the trade deadline week, this week, happened on Wednesday night when they dealt Vincent Desharnais to the San Jose Sharks for a 5th-round pick in the 2028 NHL Draft. And a little later on in the night, we found out that Luke Schenn and Tommy Novak were headed to Pittsburgh in exchange for the Penguins, who were also trading Michael Bunting to the Nashville Predators. To be honest with you, Penguins fans, I'm not too big a fan of trading Michael Bunting for Luke and Tommy Novak. But we'll see what happens when the Penguins battle the Golden Knights on Friday night. And we'll also see what both lineups look like come Friday night after the deadline. On the Vincent Desharnais trade, I honestly am not too thrilled about the trade. But again, like I said before, we will see what happens when the Penguins resume play on Friday, and of course, into the end of the weekend. Let's be real here. We're going to probably see a couple of more Penguins players get dealt at the deadline. Maybe I don't think Sid will be dealt. And I also don't think Letang or Malkin will be dealt at the trade deadline either. But we'll see what kind of deals Kyle Dubas has up his sleeve. It would not shock me if the Penguins ended up trading Tristan Jarry at the trade deadline. But what would shock me is if they traded Nedeljkovic, who, as I understand, hasn't had too many good starts in goal for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But when he's been good enough to get the win with the Penguins, it's great to see. All right, going to take a quick break on the show. When we come back, it's time for some Blue Jays updates from spring training as the Grapefruit League action continues. Plus, I'll provide you some of my thoughts on the action that I've seen, including Chris Bassitt going toe-to-toe with the Boston Red Sox, as well as some home runs from Ernie Clement and Schneider, and much, much more. A little later, we'll take a look at what you can expect at the ballpark, whether you're a Blue Jays fan, an Orioles fan in Toronto, or just a baseball fan in general in Toronto. On our theme days and promotions segment, all that still to come. But when we return after this, thoughts on Ernie Clement and Schneider getting a home run against the Red Sox, and the start from the hound on the mound, Chris Bassitt, on the mound against the Red Sox. Blue Jays Grapefruit League action update is next when we continue on Sports for Beginners. Stay with us. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait! I think I made it! CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
We are 21 days away from the home opener in the 2025 Major League Baseball season for the Toronto Blue Jays. At the timing of our recording, we are 21 days away. Well, make it 20 days away by the time you listen to this show. Make that actually 19 now, days away from the game. as in about 19 days, we will have the home opener between the Baltimore Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays inside of Rogers Center. And of course, not only for the Blue Jays in 19 days by the time you listen to this, depending on if you're listening to it on a Saturday or today on this Friday, March 7th, 2025. In about 20 days from now, as this is the Friday recording, we will be seeing for the Blue Jays a homestand where they will take on the Baltimore Orioles and the Washington Nationals. Two teams in one homestand starts in 20 days from now, about 19 days as we speak. Welcome back to Sports for Beginners, the podcast, Season 4, Episode 6. Theme days and promotions are coming up in just a little bit. But as we are at the halfway mark of the program, it's time for a Blue Jays baseball update as we look at their spring training action thus far. And over the course of this segment, I'll bring up some of my thoughts on Ernie Clement homering in the game against the Red Sox, as well as Davis Schneider homering as well. In case you have missed it in the last update we provided, the Blue Jays have since defeated the following opponents as of late. They defeated the New York Yankees at the start of spring training 6-4. Were rained out on Monday, February 24th. I should say February 22nd was when they beat the Yankees 6-4 at the start of spring training. On February 24th, they were rained out with the Detroit Tigers. The day before that, the Sunday, they defeated the Boston Red Sox 8-7. The next game the Blue Jays would play, minus the inclement weather cancellation of the Tiger game on the Monday, would be on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, where the Blue Jays would defeat the St. Louis Cardinals. On the Wednesday, the following day, the 26th of February, they fell 9-6 to the Philadelphia Phillies. They fell 8-1 on the Thursday, February 27th, 2025. They fell 11-8 to the Baltimore Orioles and finished off the month of February with a Friday victory and a loss in a split squad game against the Detroit Tigers. They defeated the Tigers 10-7, but they lost 6-3 to the New York Yankees in their split squad action. For the month of March, they tied to start the month of March at a 1-1 tie on Saturday, March 1st, 2025. On Sunday, March 2nd, 2025, the Blue Jays were not in split squad action, but the Phillies were in split squad action. The final scorers, of course, 5-4 for the Phillies against the other team they were playing in a split squad action game. And the Blue Jays beat the Philadelphia Phillies 5-4 on the Sunday, March 2nd, 2025. They later defeated the Detroit Tigers on Monday, March 3rd, 13-3. They had the day off on March 4th, 2024. 2025. We're in 2025. Scott, focus. March 5th, 2025, they lost to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was about to say Steelers, but I quickly corrected myself. Pittsburgh Pirates, they beat the Pirates. Sorry, they lost to the Pirates 7-6. And just recently, as they are in action currently as we are recording this against the New York Yankees. They defeated the Boston Red Sox 7-4 on Thursday. Yeah, that's right, Thursday, March 6, 2025. They defeated the Red Sox 7-4. This just in, Jacoby Walker switching to some interesting news on the diamond, not the diamond, on the basketball court. Won't return to the Raptors game that's going on right now, as he leaves with a quad strain. He leaves with a quad strain. More on that when it becomes available, but the Utah Jazz were going toe-to-toe with the Toronto Raptors. And as of a result of the quad strain for Jacoby Walker, he would not return to the game as a result of his quad strain. Back to the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays will be in split squad action tomorrow at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:07 p.m. Eastern Time as well, as they take on the Philadelphia Phillies on one side from Clearwater. They will then take on the Detroit Tigers at 1:07 p.m. from Dunedin, weather permitting. On Sunday, they will take on the Tampa Bay Rays as they go head-to-head with the Rays from Tampa Bay. The Astros come to Dunedin on Monday, March 10th, 2025. On Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, the Twins will take on the Blue Jays from Dunedin. And speaking of being in Dunedin, if you're one of the first 15,000 fans or however many fans there will be at that ballpark, at TD Ballpark, when the Baltimore Orioles take on the Blue Jays, you'll receive a Blue Jays straw hat giveaway presented by TD. TD, ready for you. TD is ready for you. All right. Moving on with the schedule as we move closer to opening day. They will take on the Houston Astros. And we have a spring breakout between the Minnesota Twins and the Blue Jays prospects teams beginning at 1:07 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, March 15th, 2025. The team itself will take on the St. Louis Cardinals at 1:05 p.m. Eastern. In St. Louis, on Sunday, March 16th, 2025, they will take on the Atlanta Braves before their final split squad spring training game of the season. They will once again be back in Clearwater to take on the Philadelphia Phillies at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. And the New York Yankees come to town in Dunedin for a Dunedin showdown at 1:07 p.m. 6:05 p.m. is the start time for the last Orioles matchup of the spring. And speaking of the Tampa Bay Rays, their last matchup is on Thursday, March 20th, 2025 at 1:07 p.m. The Philadelphia Phillies will be in a split squad game, but they will take on the Toronto Blue Jays one last time at 1:07 p.m. on Friday, March 21st, 2025. Then the Blue Jays will battle the Twins at 1:05 p.m. on the Saturday, March 22nd. And on March 23rd, spring training wraps up with a matchup between the Buccos of Pittsburgh and the Blue Jays before giveaways galore for the start of the season. Okay, we talked about the Boston Red Sox game. And I have some thoughts on it. We'll get these in quickly before we take our next break. I actually had a chance to catch this game on Thursday and really like what I saw from Ernie Clement and Schneider. But I hasten to add, 4 days ago, Ernie Clement was hit by a pitch. And he came back, 3 days ago to the exact when he came back to the lineup. And he took Boston deep. And then just when you think the first guy's going to leave the yard, you the second guy to leave the yard, and that's exactly what Schneider did. Well, after the first guy left the yard, you'd expect that second person to do it. And by left the yard, for those who don't understand what I'm saying, I mean, if you expected Ernie Clement to hit a home run, you got to be wondering. Oh, Davis is going to hit him. Oh, Davis is going to add on to that. Davis is going to hit a home run. And that's exactly what he did. Both these home runs contributed to a 7-4 W for the Toronto Blue Jays in spring training action. Again, the 2025 regular season begins in just 19 days from now as we look at things going on here. And again, when I was actually putting this together as a script earlier, before we actually tried to record this on Thursday yesterday, I was telling you about trades that we did see earlier, but I forgot to mention some trades that have just gone down since the deadline. We'll get to those as we get ready for the Golden Knights and the Penguins. We're going to get ready for them as we're about to take our final break of the show out of 2 breaks that we're going to take. And with that all being said, when we return, we'll get ready for the Golden Knights and the Penguins. Plus, it's time to find out what's cooking at Rogers Center. I wanted to give some thoughts on Chris Bassett, but we might run out of time for that, so I'll stick to that for our next segment. But before we go on this segment here, just a quick happy birthday to our host of Broadcast Map, Ali Moosa. At the time I was going to try to record this on March 6th, it was his birthday. And now a huge birthday shout out to my good friend Christian Caetano. He turns 22 years old today. I will leave it at that. Christian has a birthday today. Christian, happy birthday to you. And happy birthday to Ali, as Ali had his birthday yesterday. Hope he had a great day. And speaking of having a great day, why don't we take our word, 2 words of our final word, I should say. Why don't we take a word from the people that are making our day brighter, one song at a time, let's take a word from Sienna T Radio. We'll take two words from Sienna T Radio. And when we come back, it's theme days and promotions, promotional events at the ballpark, plus Golden Knights and Penguins at the ready. They are going to drop the puck in just about 31 minutes from now. In 31 minutes, it's the Pens and the Golden Knights. And you'll find out when you can possibly catch Penguins postgame, Penguins and Golden Knights, all when episode 6 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners continues. Be sure to stick with us for that. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Hello? How are you, my friend? Why? What's the matter? Why feeling bored and lonely? Look! Look at me! I am always happy. The only reason I can tell you it's because I listen to Sienna T Radio. All the best shows you can think of. The Melting Pot, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, and the Song Bank. There are also many more new shows to come. Please make sure to visit her website at http://siennat.wordpress.com/siennat-radio. Oh, now I can hear you more cheerful. Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time. Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Hey, you know something? I might know something. I might know something too. Oh, shh. But I can't tell you what I know. Oh, I can't tell you what I know now. I can't tell you what I know now. Well, one thing I do know is that it is time for theme days and promotions. Time to look at our promotional events and theme days. And of course, Golden Knights and Penguins at the ready. They did battle on the day of our recording at Friday, March 7th, 2025 at 10 p.m. Eastern. But we also saw the fact that the Penguins had made a couple of trades at the trade deadline. We're going to get into those in just a few minutes. And one of those men involved in a trade that later led to a trade going to the Winnipeg Jets. That led, yes, you heard me, that led to a start for the one and only, Tommy Novak. Mr. Novak started the game against the Vegas Golden Knights, and we'll bring that to you on Penguins postgame, which comes your way when we get out of here. When we get out of here with this one. But all things considered, let's jump into our theme days first, and this is our segment on baseball season when we talk about what fans can expect at the ballpark. What kind of theme days are in there? What kind of giveaways will fans be getting? Well, we know on opening day, we know what kind of giveaways we're going to be seeing on those days. We know those. Those are going to be, well, at least upon exit, we know that that's going to be the magnet schedule, filled with all the good stuff, all the times, all the good stuff that you could expect, all the good stuff, all the times, all the games, when the Blue Jays are at home, when they are on the road, etc. And that's part of opening day, presented by TD. We welcome the Blue Jays back to Rogers Center for the 2025 season on opening day with a very special 4-game season series between the Baltimore Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays. Theme days continue with Blue Jays Minecraft Movie Day on Saturday, May 3rd. But you can check out the Minecraft movie in theaters April 4th, 2025. Some fans are going to hate me for doing this, but I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. If you got someone who's a fan of Barbie, or let's just say you're a lifelong size Barbie fan, or just looking for a fun afternoon out, come on out to experience the magic of Barbie in a whole new way. Baseball and Barbie put together, not necessarily my favorite kind of mix, but we'll see what happens. That's on Saturday, May 17th, 2025. Cricket Day at the Park returns on Saturday, May 31st, 2025. Also, around this time, on June 20th, during City Connect Fridays, it's a Pride Night presented by TD. First 15,000 fans in the ballpark will be receiving a Blue Jays Pride Night Mode cross-body bag upon entry to the ballpark. This is the day where we have an exception for everyone's favorite Tuesday night at the ballpark when the Blue Jays are home, Looney Dogs night. It's Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, when Blue Jays fans across the globe and Canadians across the globe celebrate Canada's birthday at Rogers Centre. You know, putting on your dancing shoes and listening to music is fun and all, but being there for possible salsa dancing is even better. Returning in 2025 on Wednesday, July 23rd, slip on your dancing shoes and join the fun with salsa-inspired food, activities, and live performances. Of course, you got Fan Appreciation Weekend from Friday, September 26th to Saturday, September 27th, and Sunday, September 28th. With an exception, all Sunday home games, except Fan Appreciation Weekend, are Junior Jays Sundays. Speaking of that, reoccurring programs, I talked a little bit about Looney Dogs Night presented by Schneider. Every Tuesday home game is a Looney Dogs Night where you'll have $1 dogs at the ballpark, $1 hot dogs at the ballpark, with the exception of Canada's birthday, Canada Day. Work from Dome. Well, shout out to those for Gate 14, Johnny and Avery and all those Gate 14 members. I know you guys don't really like this one, but it's back. Work from Dome is back. That's right. Work from Dome is back in 2025 for, yes, you heard me, for every Wednesday and Thursday, 3:07 p.m. home game. Junior J Sunday, that returns for the 2025 season, with every Sunday home game at the ballpark, with the exception of the Fan Appreciation Weekend I mentioned earlier. As a Junior Jays Sunday, that's when you could bring the family out, you could bring the ball. That's when you can bring the ball. That's when you can bring the family out. You can bring the siblings out. You can bring your young ones out, your young Jay fans out to experience quite a day of fun. And kids 14 and under can run the bases just like their favorite Blue Jays. That's right. Kids 14 and under can run the bases just like their favorite Blue Jays. After every Sunday home game has gone final on every Sunday, the Blue Jays are at home. With that being said, let's get to the trades that led up to this game. So we talked a little bit about promotional events and theme days coming back to Rogers Centre, including Work from Dome and so many more. But let's take a look at our trade blocker. We'll get to the Penguins in a second. As of late, our trade deadline wraps up on the Friday with the Toronto Maple Leafs receiving Reese Johnson for future consideration for the Minnesota Wild, the team the Penguins will be playing on Sunday afternoon. Double trouble alert, double trouble alert, double trouble alert, double trouble alert, double trouble alert. Join us on Monday, the off day, for Penguins Monday hockey, the recaps of the Minnesota Wild game and this game the Penguins have just played as we are wrapping up our show here. And by the time you listen to this, you'll also be in to get to our latest episode of Penguins Postgame. That'll be the Golden Knight recap. It's a double trouble Penguins hockey show. Penguins taking on the Golden Knights on Friday. They will take on the Minnesota Wild on Sunday. And the Minnesota Wild looking pretty interesting. All right, so we got a little bit of the Maple Leaf trade there. Daniel Sprong went from the Seattle Kraken to the New Jersey Devils, as did Mark McLaughlin. For defenseman Danielle M. I'll say DM, a defenseman. A 7th round pick went to the Seattle Kraken for that deal involving Daniel Sprong. Mark Jankowski goes to Carolina for a 2026 5th round pick for the Nashville Predators. Giovanni Smith headed to Philadelphia for Eric Johnson. Adam Beckham is headed to the New York Islanders for Dennis C. Eric Brandstrom on the way to Buffalo in exchange for Nicholas Avu-Kubel, who is headed to the New York Rangers. The last trade the Penguins have made up till this point before the hockey game. That was at 3:40 p.m. Eastern, when the Maple Leafs received a 2025 5th round pick in exchange for sending to the Pittsburgh Penguins Connor Duard, a center forward, and defenseman Connor Timmins. The Penguins also made a deal dealing Cody Glass and Jonathan Gruden. At 2:23 p.m. yesterday. Of course, that's when this show was supposed to drop, but it might drop today. We'll see. Chase Stillman and Max Graham coming over from the Devils to the Penguins, as well as a 2027 third round pick. Luke Schenn was dealt by the Predators to the Pittsburgh Penguins in a trade on Wednesday for Michael Bunting. And also, as a result, the Penguins would receive Schenn and Tommy Novak. But they traded Schenn at 12:38 p.m. yesterday for a 2026 second round pick and a 2027 fourth round pick. Earlier in the day on Wednesday, they traded Vincent Desharnais to the San Jose Sharks for a 2028 5th round pick, and they traded Anthony Buvarelli to the Washington Capitals for a 2025 second round pick. So I'm kind of curious. Did Vincent Desharnais remain with the Sharks? I'm kind of curious. Did Vincent Desharnais remain with the Sharks after the Penguins traded him? Let's see. They traded Nico Strum to the Panthers and a 2027 7th round pick for a 2026 4th round pick. They traded Jake Wallman to the Oilers for Carl Berglund and a conditional 2026 first-round pick, which was a major deal, by the way. Noah Gregor and Zach O are headed to the Sharks in a deal with Fabian Zetterlund and Tristan Robbins, and a 2025 fourth-round pick going to the Ottawa Senators, a 2025 second-round pick going to the Sharks as a result, and the Sharks also dealt Luke Kay to the Columbus Blue Jackets for a 2025 fourth-round pick. All right, enough with the trades. Enough of the trades. Oh, actually, you know what? There's one more trade I want to look at. I'll be real quick about it. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw this one coming. I'm talking about the trade with the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. Brandon Carlo to the Toronto Maple Leafs for Fraser Minton, a conditional 2026 first-round pick, and a 2025 fourth-round pick. Now, let me just be clear based on what I have here. The Bruins are retaining 15% of Brandon Carlo's salary, and Toronto's 2026 first-round pick is top 5 protected. 2025 fourth-round pick originally belongs to the Philadelphia Flyers. Sorry, it originally belonged to the Philadelphia Flyers. Speaking of the Philadelphia Flyers, they were in trade news with the Maple Leafs. A couple of major trades before the trades with Pittsburgh and Minnesota, including Boston. They sent Nikita Grabentkin to the Philadelphia Flyers, along with a 2027 first-round pick, in exchange for a 2025 fourth-round pick and 2027 sixth-round pick. And, well, looky who it is in TO. It's Scott Lothington. Well. From Philadelphia to TO, Scott Lothington is headed to Toronto. A thing to note on this. Philadelphia will retain 50% of Lothington's salary. Toronto's 2027 first-round pick is top 10 protected. Timothy Liljegren leaving Toronto and going to the San Jose Sharks for a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 sixth-round pick. Excuse me there. Another big trade, Max Ellis to the Dallas Stars with a 2026 seventh-round pick. And coming to Toronto, Chris Tanev. We also saw some picks made by oh no, sorry, those were in 2024. Wow, the Maple Leafs not too busy at trade deadline day. They weren't too busy. Made deals with the Flyers, Bruins, Penguins, and the Wild. They made a deal with San Jose near the end of last season. They made a deal with San Jose near the end of last season to deal Timothy Liljegren to the San Jose Sharks, but they weren't too busy. Maybe I'll have to get on the horn with Brent Gunning and ask him what his thoughts are on some of the Maple Leaf trades during the trade deadline. A key player that I want people to keep an eye on from the Minnesota game for Pittsburgh, and of course the game that by the time you hear this will have now already gone final. It was the Penguins and the Golden Knights. I want you to keep an eye on Tommy Novak from that game. And should we see Connor Duard or Connor Timmins play against Minnesota, I want to keep a close eye on them as they go from Toronto to Pittsburgh. So we had Bunting. We had Michael Bunting. Now we've got Connor Duard and Connor Timmins, but we sent Bunting elsewhere. Am I too happy about that? No, not really. Does it shock me that the goaltenders weren't dealt? No. It wouldn't shock me if they dealt Tristan Jarry, which they did not, which the Penguins did not. It would have shocked me if they dealt Alex Nedeljkovic, but they did not. I am actually shocked, though, that Rickard Rakell wasn't dealt. But after listening to what Kyle Dubas had to say after the deadline, he answered a question about that regarding Rickard Rakell and why he wasn't dealt. Is he part of the plan? Is he part of that process to, I guess, rebuild and get younger? You know, I'm going to need to re-listen to that to see how he answered it because I didn't quite jot it down. I probably should have. And again, he spoke before the game. He spoke before the game against the Golden Knights. And speaking of Penguins moves, as of our recording, the Penguins have optioned, not optioned. They have reassigned Jack St. Ivany, a defenseman for the Penguins. They have reassigned him to the Penguins affiliate team in the AHL, Wilkes-Barre Scranton. So we will not see Jack St. Ivany play probably against Minnesota unless he is available. Jack St. Ivany, I don't believe, played against the Golden Knights, but we'll leave that for Penguins postgame for you to check it out. That's going to do it for our Friday episode for Friday, March 7th, 2025. On our next Friday episode, which is this Friday, March 14th, 2025, it's a Penguins Hockey Friday. And what does that mean? Well, it means that on said day, you will hear the recap of the Penguins matchup on Thursday night between the St. Louis Blues and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just a programming note for this. On this episode of Sports for Beginners, the game puck of the game will be replaced by a little Bucks and Pucks action. And speaking of that, that comes your way after tomorrow's game. If you're catching this on the weekend, obviously you might be doing that, which is against the Minnesota Wild. So Bucks and Pucks will be on our 7th episode of Sports for Beginners, Season 4. It will also return after the recap, or during our recap of the Wild and the Penguins, in place of the game puck of the game. But no worries. No worries. We will make sure that we have the game puck of the game when we can do that for you. But I wanted to try to really utilize the Bucks and Pucks, especially before we get into looking ahead to the matchups, given that we are now down to the wire. Well, not really down to the wire, but there's not very many games left to be played right now. When it comes down to it, Penguins have just played in game 65 of the season. They're down to 17 games, I should say, remaining, with 75 games complete, and we'll bring you the action of game 75 in just a matter of moments. My name is Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for joining us for our weekly show, no matter how late it may be. Be sure to catch up on all of the great action on Sienna T Radio. And of course, for Penguins fans out there, let's go Pens. And of course, for Bills Mafia, go Bills. For Blue Jays fans out there, let's go Blue Jays. Speaking of Blue Jays baseball, their split squad contest between the Philadelphia Phillies and, of course, the Detroit Tigers, both of those contests are underway as we speak. The Blue Jays will take on the Tampa Bay Rays tomorrow, and you'll hear that as part of our Bucks and Pucks segment during our Minnesota Wild recap. For now, my name is Scott McGregor, and this has been Sports for Beginners. We'll see you next week on Penguins Postgame, a season episode of Penguins Postgame, as we break down what went down between the Blues and the Pens. Before we can get there, we got to get through Sunday afternoon's action, and we'll bring that all to you following our coverage of Night Owl Club, the Night Owl Club in Vegas versus Pittsburgh. Our Friday recap is on the way. The Blues play the Penguins on Thursday. The Golden Knights will do battle once again with the Penguins on Tuesday. What happened on Friday? You'll find out next on Penguins Postgame. But for Sports for Beginners this season episode, that's it for now. We will talk to you after the Blues and Penguins game on episode 7 of season 4. That's Penguins versus Blues, Penguins postgame recap season 4 edition on episode 7 this coming Friday. Be sure you don't miss it. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.